Scorecards that rate the government on compliance with the Federal Information Technology Acquisition Reform Act need a do-over, according to many federal government CIOs. Federal News Radio reports more than two-thirds of the CIOs that responded to their survey say the way the Government Accountability Office scores compliance with FITARA doesn't accurately reflect the state of their systems. Mike Hettinger is president of Hettinger Strategy Group. Rich Beutel of Cyrrus Analytics is here, and Kareem El-Alaily is managing director at Censeo Consulting Group. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on the program. Mike, I'll start with you. Okay. What is the big hang-up in the CIO community about FITARA scorecards right now?
Well, I mean, I think the scorecard overall just needs to expand and change, right? We've got four categories essentially in the congressional scorecard. And what's happened is those don't necessarily reflect the efforts that the agency CIOs have made, and as a result, they're not very happy with some of the grades that they've received.
Kareem, what is the issue overall from a managerial perspective that would help tune up these scorecards?
Well, from a managerial perspective, the metrics just aren't. There's two issues. First of all, the metrics are not all-encompassing, so you can't really assess the FITARA compliance of an agency because you just don't have enough metrics and they're not measuring necessarily the right things. It's almost like trying to figure out who won a basketball game by calculating who had the best free throw percentage. It doesn't tell you what you need to know. Additionally, there are some accountability issues, more infrastructure related with FITARA, namely that GAO and OMB and the agencies are not on the same page in terms of what they expect out of FITARA outcomes, and that's partly why we're in this situation.
What would it take to get them on the same page, Rich? What's the holdup that we could see a change in that coming down the road?
Well, the current FITARA scorecard has an important role in providing congressional oversight over FITARA implementation. Recall that the previous framework, the Klinger-Cohen framework, fell by the wayside because of the lack of continued focus on implementing and putting the principles of Klinger-Cohen into place in actual practice within the federal agencies. And so having a viable and accurate FITARA scorecard is a critical tool. Right now, the congressional scorecard only measures 4 items, as Mike said, whereas FITARA has 7 pillars. And so immediately you have a mismatch in terms of what agencies need to accomplish to provide robust FITARA implementation. That gap is what we're trying to address here.
So is there a fear, though, if you go to measuring 7 things, that FITARA turns into the same kind of compliance exercise that CIOs have complained about in the past?
That's actually exactly what we're trying to avoid, right? We want to make the scorecard relevant. We think that if you expand it to 7 things or 10 things and look at things that are actually relevant and have the grades tie back directly to efforts that a CIO has made, it will be more responsive. And they'll look at it and say, this is a management tool that I can use that will allow me to make some changes in my organization, as opposed to, you know, right now we're measuring some things. We've heard stories, for example, a CIO cut 100 data centers and got a D. Right? And you look at that, he's going to go, well, why am I going to continue to make this effort if my efforts to date have led to me getting a D, even though I think I've made substantial progress? And those are the changes that we think need to be made to make it relevant.
Especially if that CIO is getting pushback inside the agency for doing the things that he or she's supposed to do.
Absolutely. And you're trying to save money, you're trying to make changes, but if the metrics don't add up, as Kareem said, then we've got a problem.
So Kareem, the ultimate goal here is to produce better results for the federal government. What will it take for the CIOs to buy into some kind of new structure? I guess it's a good thing that they're not saying we should toss out the scorecards altogether, that they want to see a realignment, right?
Yeah, so most of the CIOs and federal IT staff that we spoke to believe in FITARA. They believe in the essence of what it's trying to do. They just don't believe in the scorecard, and as a result, they are focusing more on OMB's common baseline as opposed to GAO's scorecard metrics. So I think these IT leaders will be pleased with the next iteration of the FITARA scorecard if GAO and OMB can work together and figure out a more fair, all-encompassing scorecard that is objectively based, but also can work in subjective assessments of where an agency is with respect to where they began. So progress matters. Putting effort forth against FITARA matters. Starting, some agencies simply start at a tougher position than other agencies, and they need credit for that. So if you can build a scorecard that incentivizes agencies to continue trying, to continue doing the right thing, then you'll see positive change with respect to FITARA.
Would you expect in this new environment, with this new scorecard structure, the way that it is, that the grades will look dramatically different than they look now? Or will it just be a more comprehensive look at what's going on in systems?
I do not know the answer to that, but I do believe that there will be a lot of shuffling of scores. I do not know whether it's going to tell us that agencies are doing a better job at FITARA than what we originally believed from the scorecards or not. But having a more all-encompassing scorecard will at least get us closer to the truth.
Rich, 30 seconds. Does Congress need to do something about this, or can OMB and GAO agree that they want to change the structure of the scorecard?
Well, Congress is integral to the process. They've obviously got to buy off on the new structure if they're going to use it as the crux of oversight hearings and measuring of agencies for purposes of implementation of FITARA.
Rich Beutel, Mike Hettinger, Kareem El-Alaily, thank you very much for coming on the program.